G'day legends, welcome back to another episode, Young Nomad style of course, where our motto is...
Live free.
Let's cheers to that, guys. And on this episode, we're going to take you on a little journey behind the scenes about who we are, YNS. We're going to share with you real, raw, authentically, the family of 5, 2 fur babies, 3 humans, where we've come from, what our dreams, what our aspirations are, and who we are as people. So whatever you do, kick back, enjoy a cup of coffee, cup of tea, maybe a cold beverage or two, as we will, and we're going to share all things YNS style here and now. Alright, so let's get down to who is who in the zoo. Literally, Mel, over to you.
Alright, so we are going to start with the dogs. So this one's Charlie.
Mel's number ones.
She is a girl and she is now 8 years old this year. We got this one from a family who are actually moving overseas to America, and they just needed to rehome her. And Chris and I were actually at that stage in our life where we felt like we needed some fur babies in our life.
Commitment.
Who doesn't?
Commitment.
Who doesn't want fur babies in their life? So I actually went up first and looked at her. She was actually from Bridgewater, which is
up in the hills somewhere.
Yeah,
Adelaide
up in
Hills,
the hills.
somewhere.
Yeah. And I went and looked at her first, and the lady actually said that I was the first person that she actually sat for, so that meant something. And then I came home without her, and I spoke to Chris about her because he was actually looking for a dog at the time too. And I spoke to Chris about her, and then he ended up coming with me to go and pick her up. So we picked her up, and he fell in love with her like as soon as he seen her, and they've just been inseparable since. But she's my girl. And then we've got Max over here. This is our old boy. He's our senior dog.
My twin.
And
The wise man.
He's going to be 12 this year, so he was born the same year as Demi. And he's actually, there's a sad story really with him. So I was looking for a mate for Charlie, and I was looking on Gumtree, which I don't think is around anymore. Or is it around? It's still around.
Yeah.
And there was no picture of him, but it just said Border Collie for sale. At the time it said that he was 3, but at the time when I seen him he was actually 5. And then I went to the house, and unfortunately he just wasn't in a very good environment. He lived majority of his life at the back in a big dust bowl. The house was just covered in so much rubbish and crap everywhere. It was really horrible, and the minute I went and seen him, I walked towards him, and then he seen me, and he actually just put his chin on my knee and just looked at me with his eyes and said, like, get me out of here. And I didn't care. I was going to pay any sort of money to get him out of there, because the condition he was in was not very good. He actually had matted fur everywhere. He had fleas. He was actually underweight.
Obviously, he's camera shy. He doesn't want to be on camera. He's turning his back to us.
Yeah. So anyway, I got him out of there, and we quickly cleaned him up. I shaved him, like shaved all the matting off him, because he was just covered in mud and dog feces and all that sort of thing. And funny enough, Chris actually came home like 20 minutes after I brought him home, and he was like, oh my god, what have you actually brought home? But we've never looked back since, and to be honest with you, Max absolutely adores Charlie. Like, he would be absolutely lost without her. He does mourn for her when she's not around, and whereas it's quite the opposite with her. Like, she's an independent woman. She doesn't really mind him not being around, but he is so loyal to her. She is his woman. So he's actually really beautiful. Every time he looks at you with his eyes, he's actually got a story to tell, and he's just so gorgeous. Like, so happy that we got him. But yeah, so
I'll tell you the side of my story. So with Charlie and Max, right, when we first got Charlie, Mel wanted a dog, so did I. We kind of knew we wanted to make that commitment. We were ready.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really looking, because it's a responsibility, it's a cost. And anyway, she went and looked at Charlie, and she's like, just look at her. And we went up there, and Charlie was witty, cheeky, mysterious, which I am. Like, she's a bit on the edge, and I was like, oh, I connect with this dog. So we took her, and she was just like class, elegance, independent woman.
And she was only 10 months old, might I add, because I don't think I said that, but she was 10 months old.
10 months old.
She was still a puppy.
Yeah. And then Mel, after we got Charlie, within about 6 months, was like, we need another dog. And I'm like, no, we don't. Because as this story continues on, more people move in with us and our family. So there was a lot of mouths. And I was like, no, we don't need more mouths, responsibilities. But Mel had this asphyxiation of, I want a brown dog. I want a brown chocolate style sort of border collie. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Anyway, she was showing me pictures and adverts on Gumtree.
Well, the advert actually, like I said before, didn't actually have a picture.
Yes.
And by this time, it was too hard to find a chocolate coloured or a different coloured border collie.
Yeah.
So I was ready to settle for a black and white one. Like, it didn't actually bother me.
Yeah.
And then it was funny, because when I got there, he was brown and white, and I was like, oh my god.
But before that, when Mel showed me the advert, I think it was a Monday morning, I was literally walking out the door to work. I was dressed, ready for a busy day. She goes, hey, look at this advert, there's a dog, it's a chocolate border collie.
Well,
she showed me the advert.
It didn't say it was a chocolate.
Well, it just
said a border collie.
A border collie. Yeah, that's right. And I was like, straight away, I was like, where's the picture? She goes, there's no picture. And I thought straight away, what are they hiding? Why is there no picture? Like, you know, everyone loves dogs. You always put pictures up of dogs. Anyway, I went to work this day, and I knew I was leaving the house with one dog, and I knew I was coming back home that day with 2 dogs. And sure enough, I came home from work that day to Max, matted, full of fleas, derelict, broken, tired dog that just had enough of life. And initially I said to me, I was like, what the fuck have you brought home? Like, oh my god, what is going on? I couldn't believe it. So anyway, I started asking questions. Where's the toys? Where's the leads? Where's the bowl? Nothing. They had nothing. They gave us nothing. I was like, where did you get this dog from? I went to Salisbury Downs. Those that know Adelaide, you know, there's good and bad. Went to Salisbury Downs. It was a cesspit of shit and toys and rubbish and naked kids and the worst of the worst. And obviously it was a sale of the next hit, right? Let's be honest, wasn't it? That's what you said. She's like, just give him the money, because that's for the next hit. Get him out of there. But when she told me the story of how she went out the back door and he came to her and sat down, and she kneeled down to him, and he just put his head on her knee, and looked up at him and said, please don't leave me. Do not leave me here, and do not go without me. that's where she had been. So anyway, we cleaned him up, and
We'll
this
drop
guy.
some photos in as well because we've got some photos.
Yeah, we'll put them down below.
Yeah, we'll put them.
We'll share them above.
Yeah, we'll
this
share
way,
them wherever,
that
on top, over, whatever. We can do a voiceover and show you.
When we first got him.
Yeah, when we first got him. Yeah, he's honestly the most amazing. So for a dog that's been through hell and back, he is the most beautiful dog we've ever met in our whole entire life. Like, we're just so grateful to be able to provide a home for him and treat him like a king. Like, that's how he's supposed to be treated. Both of them, king and queen. They're actually king and queen of their house.
They're more a queen than the king.
It's their house and we just live with them.
We pay the
what
bills.
It is. Yeah.
But I'm always
yeah.
swelling up talking about him, thinking about that history. You don't realise, but she's had it good all her life. That's why she's very cheeky and witty, and she knows she's boss. She knows she's got it good. But this guy has had the worst, roughest, baddest upbringing, but he's the best heart and soul I've ever met.
Yeah.
Like, he's so soft and beautiful, and I mean, look at him. He's just laying in Dad's lap because
he's the most beautiful dog we've ever owned. Like, and
so
what makes us even more proud and happy is to be able to travel, because like, they're like humans to us. They're not just dogs. Like, they're humans to us. They're our children.
Yeah.
And we are so fortunate to be able to take Max and Charlie around Australia and show him like the best beaches in the world, because they are water dogs. They love the beaches. They love, like, if you're throwing the hose around, they jump in front of the hose, and they just love water.
We always said you've had the worst half of your life, but we're going to make sure you have the best second half of your life. That's all you will ever remember is this life that we're providing for you from this point forward.
Yeah.
So that's what we're excited about. This one already knows. Chasing birds, digging in sand, hitting the water. She's living the dream. But this guy,
he absolutely deserves it.
He's come from a lot worse upbringings, but our journey and our whole, what we're trying to install in him is that the second part of his life is what we want him to remember forever.
Yeah.
So
and
anyway,
this one as well. Like,
absolutely.
She's a gem. She's a rat bag, but she's a gem.
Every girl is.
And
anyway.
what we love too as well is how good they get along. She obviously wears the pants between these
like
two.
every good marriage. Yeah, boys.
No, he does, to be honest with you. He makes all the decisions in this relationship, let me tell you.
Logically.
But yeah, like, when they play together, it's just so beautiful to see, isn't it? Like, we absolutely love
it's
the
like
relationship
polar
that they
opposites
have.
attract, right?
Yeah.
Like, Mel's super affectionate, whereas I'm not.
Yeah, you're not.
I'm independent, right? But I love Mel unconditionally, and there's something that gravitates us together. It's the same in the dog universe. Like, she's so independent. She's like, I don't need him, but there's something that always pulls her back to him, where she feels safety and security in him. He's a protector of her. He always sits in front of her. She leans on him whenever she's a bit scared or unsure about things. If there's a storm, or, you need him. I know that.
Yeah.
You just don't know that sometimes. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's Max and Charlie,
Yeah.
our fur babies. So we thought we'd cover that off first because everyone loves dogs more than humans. So, so we'll jump into the next.
We'll introduce you to our beautiful little lady here. What's your name?
Demi.
And how old are you?
11.
And what's your favourite things?
What are my favorite things? Art, music, history, space,
Ooh,
Anime.
anime,
yeah.
Speak
What sort of
louder.
anime?
My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, Haikyuu, and what was the other one?
She likes any anime. Like,
Yuri
Japanese.
Yuri on Ice and the school babysitters.
Awesome.
I know a couple.
and what do you want to be when you get older?
An astronomer.
Yeah, an astronomist. Yeah. What's your favourite animal?
A chameleon.
Why do you love a chameleon?
Because they change colours.
Yeah.
Ah, talk up.
With your speaker.
Because they change colours.
Yeah. And what's your favourite colour at the moment?
It's gotta be pink. No, wait. Yeah,
Salmon.
pink,
Salmon.
blue, or purple.
It's
Or
not a
peach.
choice.
Peach.
Yeah, I like those
Peach
colours.
is one of my number one.
Yeah, because peach looks really nice with your skin complexion.
So, 11 going on 16.
12.
Yeah, but it feels
When-
like you're going on 16.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
8th of May.
Right.
2010.
That's when you were born. 2010. Right. So we're about to go on the road full time. So Demi left her friends from year 6 that she grew up with. What school did you go to, darling?
St. Augustine's.
And how was that for a school going through primary school?
Really fun.
Can you name all your teachers from reception up to year 6?
Miss Cruz, Miss Reception, Miss Cruz, Year 1, Miss Barons, Year 2, Miss Morrison, Year 3, Mr. C, Year 4, Mr. McBurney, Year 5, Miss Brown and Miss Martin, and Year 6 is Miss Ralph and Miss Colliopoulos.
No pressure on the teachers that might be watching. Who was your favourite? No, we won't go down
No.
there. We won't go down there. They're all your favourite.
No, but we're super grateful that you know, we've been able to entrust you teachers to teach our beautiful darling, you know, the values and morals in life, principles, you know, all of the important stuff, because she's turned out to be an amazing child, and we are super grateful that
St. Augustine's.
St. Augustine's, the school
Incredible.
that she goes to, is a Catholic school.
Yeah.
And the main reason why we went Catholic over public is just because,
Or Christian.
mainly because we believe, and this is anyone's
Oh,
different
shit. We're
opinions
going
or
religious
whatever,
here.
but for me, I believe that a Catholic school offers that discipline and that, you know, the values and morals are right and it aligned with us, and that's why we chose to put her in a Catholic school. Whereas we just don't think that with a public school she may have got the same support. This is obviously my opinion. People may put their children into public schools and they may have, you know, had a great experience, and that's awesome. But for us, with the school that we chose, we believed that it aligned with us, and that's why we put her in that school, and we believe that it has definitely impacted on the way she's grown up. And obviously the parenting that Chris and I have done together has also impacted her as well. So we just wanted to say that Demi actually met Chris when she was 3 years old, so Chris isn't the biological father, but ever since she's met you, you've pretty much taken over the fatherly role, and, you know, being there for her, really, like, you've done an amazing job with, you know.
So yeah, so obviously I'm not Demi's dad. Demi's dad is a great dad. It's always an awkward balance to try and be a fatherly figure but not the dad. So to all you stepdads that aren't biological dads, full respect. It's a fine line, you know.
It takes an absolute man to take on someone else's children, and it takes a special kind of man to do that. So I'm so grateful that.
But not only that, it's about the respect for the dad. You know, Stephen's your dad, and he's a great guy, and he does well by you. And
yeah, and Demi absolutely adores him, and
you never.
We've always been there to support her whenever she's wanted to, you know, go to dad's and all that sort of thing. So yeah,
But it's a fine line. You don't want to overstep the mark.
Yeah, you don't want to take over as the father. But I think Stephen has entrusted you a lot with being that father figure in her life, and I think he, and I can speak on behalf of him, would be super grateful that you've been there for her
This
so
is
yeah.
no parental channel by any means, but if there's any words of advice I can give, because I got a close friend of mine who went through family court and lost 5 years of his life and spent an exorbitant amount of money just to get access to his kids. But sometimes you just got to remove your own agenda and look at what's best for the kid. And
Yeah.
whether that's, you know, the way I'm raising Demi, if I feel that's better than the father themselves, it's not about me or my agenda, it's what's best for Demi and the relationship with her father.
And we've always put that first in her world. Like, we've always made sure that, you know, whatever she wants to do in life is what we are going to support. And since her dad and I have split up,
which is really open too. We're open about
we're
that.
super open about it. We have always put Demi first. We've never ever made any sort of agenda about me. We've never made it about him. I've always said to him, the only time you and I talk, and if we need to make decisions, it's always going to be about her. I'm not that type of mother that if I had an agenda with her dad, that I would use her as a pawn to get back at him, because that's wrong. That is absolutely wrong, and I don't believe in that, and I think it's BS that some women actually do that, and it actually makes me angry. Like, I'm getting so worked up about it, because there are so many men out there, and you wonder why they go and do stupid stuff and end their lives because they can't even get access to their children. And it's wrong. It's wrong. So anyway, I'm just getting a bit worked up about it, because I believe wholly and solely that you should always put your children first, no matter what. And obviously, you wouldn't put your children in a dangerous situation if the father was a drug addict, or if he was an alcoholic, or if he was violent and domestically violent, or, you know, if he was a horrible person. If like, you would obviously use your brain. Like, you just wouldn't put your children in that environment. But if this person has done minute things, there is no, you should never ever put your children in the middle of that. If your children want to go and see their father or their mother, vice versa, you should always allow that.
Remove your agenda.
You should always allow that. And that is the number one thing that I've always just put first, because
I think
it is about Demi, and whatever makes her happy is what makes me happy.
Yeah.
And we've always been a big believer of that, and thankfully we have a civil relationship with her father to be able to converse civilly and get on well for the sake of her. And that's the whole reason why we have decided to go, right, it's about Demi. So that's what I'll say about that.
You know, I remember when I first met your dad, Stephen, and, you know, it's that whole alpha male thing, like, who's the new guy, who's this guy in my daughter's life, you know what I mean? And I actually just pulled him aside when he first picked up Demi, and I had a beer with him, and I said, hey mate, I just want to be very clear, I'm not here to replace your space and place. Like, you're the dad. I just want to influence your daughter, my stepdaughter, positively in life, that makes her flourish and do well out of life. But I just want to be very clear, you are the dad. And I think since we had that, you remember that conversation when he came to our house, I was very clear about that from the beginning, that it kind of it deflated things of the whole alpha male of, like, fuck you, who's this guy, you're stepping in my daughter's life, and that's my ex. And I just said, mate, put all that stuff aside, you're the dad, I respect that, that's cool, that's honourable. Hopefully one day I'll be a biological dad that will just deliver a beautiful relationship to my children. But in the meantime, I'm in between you and your child. I don't want to get in the way of that. You're the dad, I'm the step guy. Like, let me just help you be the best dad possible, and just communicate and talk to me. That was 5 minutes of deep stuff, family wise.
It was
But
very
anyway,
deep. And like, I expect that of Stephen's partner as well, to have that relationship with Demi, you know, because Stephen, obviously, her dad obviously can't, you know, be, I guess, like, maternal about, you know, girls in particular, if you know what I mean.
that's
So I would expect that his partner would take over those types of things when she goes there. You know, if she needs to talk about girl stuff, that I would expect his partner to be there for her. And I'm not the type of woman who gets a bit offended when she says, oh, my stepmom, or, you know, I'm just not that person, because for me, to be honest with you, Demi is so lucky to have so many dynamics in her life. Like, she's got Chris and his side, she's got me and my side, she's got Stephen and his side, she's got Kerry and her side. Sorry. You know, and an extended family as well. So if anything, she's super lucky to have that love and support around her. So yeah, we're super supportive of whatever's going on in Demi's life, whether it be here or over at her dad's house. We're super proud of everything.
So anyway, Demi, over to you. What would you say to the people that are watching? How's your life? How's your upbringing? How are you feeling about going on the road full time in a caravan, living together in this space with Papa and Mum?
I am excited, but I'm also very nervous.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure why I'm actually very nervous. I just have this part of my body that's just ready to explode with like excitement, butterflies, and all that stuff.
Mixed emotions.
Yeah, just all mixed up in there, and it just wants to explode.
Yeah.
And
because at first you were quite upset that you were leaving your friends at school, weren't you?
And I just wasn't really ready. So Mum asked me if I wanted to stay with Dad. So I had to think about it for around, I don't know, like a couple of days or a week. And I made up my mind, and I said I wanted to come traveling with.
Cool. He wants to go. He wants to go. Sorry guys, Max is a little bit older and pretentious. When an old man wants to go, he wants to go.
And I think, you know, like, I think it would have been a non-negotiable that if she did choose to stay with her dad, I don't think we would have left to go on a trip for 12 months, because for me, I can't be away from it. That's really what it comes down to. And I think
what made you feel like that's a tough decision? Like, I remember, so we'll get to me in a moment, but my parents separated when I was 12, and I was given the decision of choosing, do I go with Mum or Dad? And my parents installed in me, who do I go with? Bless their souls. And I remember feeling divided. I'm like, oh my God. My mum left my dad, so it was hard because my dad was heartbroken and sad and, you know, departed.
It's hard for a parent as well as the child.
So the circumstances were different then, because it was a marriage breakdown, separation. But in total respect to my parents, they gave me the option of where do you want to go, and I made that call. And I probably took a left turn where everyone thought I'd go right. So what made you think about this to go the direction that we're going?
Well, I wanted to see like very new experiences for me, because I've always wanted to go to Perth, and I think I've been to Queensland. Yeah,
Yes.
I have been to Queensland.
Well, we got married there, don't we?
Yes.
We've only seen a little snippet of Queensland though.
Yeah.
Tiny little place.
So I wanted to see the rest of Australia, except for the things that I have seen, but I might see them again. Depends how much I love them. Like Uluru, I loved that. I wanted to do it again.
That was
We took you to Uluru. Yeah.
So I wanted to see new experiences, but in my like other side of the other. Okay, how do I put this?
The other side of the family equation.
Yeah, and I felt like, I don't know, I really wanted to see my friends still.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see my dad and some other people on, like, my other side of, like, my relationships and everything, like, with all my friends. My dad, we're very close. And I felt actually very upset that I was leaving them. And I felt very bad for them as well, but I wanted to see experiences that I've always wanted to see. And I know I'll keep, like, I will update my friends every day, see where I'm going or what I'm doing today, see if we're going to the pool, maybe like
Water's a
tell
big
them.
important part of Demi's life.
She's another water baby, funny enough. She has loved water ever since you were a baby, and if she sees a pool, it doesn't matter how cold it is, this kid will be swimming in the pool. And I'm sure like a lot of parents have children like that.
Except for one time he pushed me into the pool.
Oh yeah.
But you know, not the funny thing is, but one thing that I learned from Demi right then, right, and for a long period of my own life, I put other people and their happiness ahead of my own, because I thought they love me and I love them, but I've got to make them happier than myself. So I stopped doing a lot of the stuff that I really wanted to do to adventure and experience, because I wanted to please other people. And what I heard in your message then is that you love your dad and you love your friends, and they know that, and we're not going away forever. We are coming back. But there's going to be a period in the life right now from this day forward that we're going to put ourselves first, and that's okay, because you're going to enjoy an adventure and an experience and that's what
most
it's
really
people
about. Like, we explained to her this is an opportunity that not many children, well, there are children out there doing it, but she's lucky, one of the lucky children that are able to travel Australia and explore and adventure and experience a lot of things.
It's 1 year.
It's 1 year.
How quick does a year go by these days?
It does go really quickly. So,
you know, yesterday we were talking about Trump, today we're talking about war, tomorrow COVID's gone.
Yeah, I think Demi will have a lot of stories to come home with, and that's really important as well. So, yeah.
How amazing is it though, 11 years of age, trying to please other people in relationships more than herself, because she's a selfless human being that cares more for other people than herself.
Mm-hmm.
But she understands it's okay to go and enjoy and live an experience and have a little bit of a life for you and us over the next year. And my promise to her is that I will make sure you have the most magical moments and experiences over the next year, that if I'm on deathbed, which will be one day, we can look back and go, do you remember that time we dived with those whale sharks? Do you remember that time we swam in that reef and seen those little beautiful fish? And staying in Adelaide, where we love, and it is our home, and we'll be back, but right now that doesn't give us that memory. It doesn't give us that experience. It doesn't install in us that adventure that we've got within us.
Well, do you have anything else to say?
I'm super proud of how well you've spoken.
How about a bit more information?
About what?
About what?
Like,
Where we're going?
No.
Okay.
Like,
This could go anywhere, guys. This is how real and raw this is.
personality?
Okay, what sort of personality do you have?
I don't know.
Dark side.
You describe me, it's your opinion. You describe me, it's
Well,
your opinion.
Demi is the most outgoing, bubbly, crazy, loud, can I say weird?
If you want to.
She's a little slightly weird, but it's a great weird. Like, it's not a weird. She's actually funny weird. She's very, like, quick with her comebacks, and sometimes I could wring her neck sometimes, but yeah, she's an incredible child. She's beautiful. She is so caring. She's selfless. She is so thoughtful. She's really creative, like super creative. It's unreal. Like, the pictures she draws are so detailed and intricate, and it's amazing. So yeah, she's incredible.
But it takes me ages to draw them.
Yeah,
I'm not a very good drawer.
but all the best drawers take their time. You know, me, I just draw a stick figure and I'm just like, hey, I'm done.
So do you want my opinion? Is that what you're asking? Okay. Welcome everybody, this is the Demi Show. Demi is is it introvert is the word I'm looking for?
No, she's extrovert. Introvert's very like.
Keep to yourself?
She
Keep to
is
yourself?
a bit of both. Like she can be very introverted and extroverted.
So,
What does introvert
okay,
mean?
I'll explain. I'm a 1983 baby born, right? So Nintendo, PlayStation, simple, right? So Demi is like, so I'm super protective of because I've raised her since she was 3. So I'm used to the girl who used to pick up the microphone and sing, "Let it go, let it go." So you know, it's harder for a guy to let go of that to now a girl who wants to be in her room, and I'll knock on her door and say, "What are you doing?" "Nothing, Papa, nothing." I'll be like,
Nothing much.
you know, I'll jump on her and I'll tickle her and don't touch me and don't do this and don't do that. So I went from a child who would be like, "Papa's crazy, Papa's silly like me, he's like la 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 la," to now it's like, knock on my door before you enter my room. I'm like, oh,
Well,
okay.
Depends what I'm doing. If I'm like eating or
Which is all the time.
sleeping.
All the time. Gaming, sleeping. So
Gaming doesn't really matter. You can come in whenever you want. If I'm just laying on my bed watching my phone or like playing a game on my phone,
So-
it's fine. You can just come jump in, like come into my room, jump on my bed, and I'll jump with you.
So I'm full on, aren't I? It's like, I go in, I come in blazing, tickle, jump, launch, be stupid, like I'm the stupidest dad, aren't I? And sometimes she'll be like, "Stop,
I don't want
Papa,
to say stupid.
stop, Papa, that's enough,
Yeah,
that's
she
enough."
yells out, "Mom, Papa's annoying me."
So that's where the boundary for me is between 3 to 10 to 10 to 11 going on 16 is a real adjustment for me because I still do stupid
It's like,
shit.
where did our little
And I
Language.
still act younger than she does sometimes when I try to play. Let's be honest, women are more mature than men, at least by 4 to 5 years. So
And they live
when I'm
longer.
trying to be, yeah, but that's because they peck the men. But
and
anyway,
they
that's a
never
whole
grow
different
up.
subject.
Chris is
But-
he's going on 40 and he's still not grown up.
Correct.
Like women, if you
So-
want a grown up man, I suppose you have to find an 80-year-old or something because they never grow up.
Hugh Hefner, long gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, that worked out well for him. Made him lots of money and lots of chicks. Maybe there's a recipe in that, boys.
Rest in peace.
But yeah, it's kind of that adjustment, that cycle of you're not my baby girl anymore. She's not as crazy as I am.
Where's our
I've
little
got
Elsa?
to take that.
Where's
I've got
our
to.
Queen Elsa?
No, it's not
gone?
that. I've got to take a mature approach.
Yeah.
You know, like, please not. Please be respectful. Please admire my space. Like, she'll come home from her dad's, and I'll be like, hey. Sometimes she comes home from her dad's, right, and she falls in my lap, comes on the couch, she gives me a hug, and straight away I can tell. I'm like, babe, you're tired. She goes, yeah, I've had a busy weekend. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. What do you need? I just need me time. I'm like, cool. Go in your room, have me time. So we have these boundaries, don't we? Where like she goes in her room, has her me time, and you know I'll knock on the door and go, hey,
And she's
am I
like,
okay
no,
coming? She's like, no,
not
leave me
now,
alone. It's
not
me
now.
time. All right, cool. So it's respecting those boundaries. But I don't know. I feel like we've got a bond that's pretty special.
Yeah.
I feel privileged and honoured for our bond.
But you are also an amazing man for taking on such a young little baby almost she was. Like she was a toddler at 3 and like it's special that you actually took her on like that. Like it takes a real special
Well, take me back
dedicated
to
man.
let it go.
Let it go.
All right, so that's Demi,
Yep.
that's Charlie, that's Max.
So
Oh my God.
we'll-
Mel's like, wrap this up in 10 minutes. I'm like, there's a whole life to tell here.
So we'll,
Not
tuck
really.
the kids in bed and then we'll be back and we will go on about Chris and I.
Yeah, because as you can see, Charlie's paws up there. She's exhausted from all this yibby yabba. Max is long gone. Demi's like, let me out. It's no longer about me.
Yeah.
I'm checking out.
Yeah.
So now we're going to grab another drink, guys. Kick back, relax, grab another drink yourself, and we're going to talk. Mum and Dad might get raunchy, might not. Might get real, might get raw. Definitely.
Christopher.
We promise that. Anyway,
Alright.
here we go.
What?
See, I'm getting in trouble already with the wife. Definitely grab a drink. Here we go.
So we are back. We got another drink, and
Cheers.
we are going to go on about how Chris and I met. So we were both obviously dating and we stumbled across the website called Oasis, and that's where Chris and I met. It took a few goes because when I was awake, Chris was asleep, and when Chris was awake, I was asleep. So I used to be...
Which is no different in marriage life now, is it?
Yeah, because I like a sleep in. Chris wakes up super early, and that would be when, you know, he would reply to me, but then I wouldn't reply because I was asleep. Anyway, I just got sick of the online dating life. Like, the amount of people I met that were Bronx were like, I
That's a
couldn't.
word I've heard for a while.
Yeah, what's a word for them? Like flogs, I suppose.
Flogs.
And I just got sick of it, and I thought, nah, I'm over it. You know, if I go out one night, maybe I'll meet somebody, and it'll happen like that. So anyway, I went on there to get rid of my account, and then Chris had replied to my last message, and I said, look, I may as well just put my number there, and if he responds to me, then cool. If not, then cool. So I gave him my number, and then literally got rid of it. And then I heard nothing from him. But I think in some conversations we said, oh, do you have Facebook? And then we sort of hooked up on Facebook as well. So it wasn't like it was the number.
Keep in mind, guys, this is like 8 years ago. Like, Facebook was not big, eh?
No. Yeah.
Like, Oasis was massive. Like, it was bigger than Tinder because it was free.
I don't think Tinder was even around.
No, Tinder was not around.
It wasn't.
And we used Oasis because it was a good dating platform. Like, I was busy, so I didn't have time to go out to a bar and meet people and, you know, whatever else. So I just needed a place that I could just interact and chat and, you know, meet someone like Mel. And it was free, and you could chat. There was a free chat, a bit like Messenger. We didn't have Tinder though. It wasn't like swipe left, swipe right. It was like you'd scroll through, pick a profile, you know, read a bit about you, your bio. That kind of connects with me.
So the people who know Oasis obviously know this.
Yeah.
But
which are like 80s. I'm an 83 baby.
Yeah.
You're an
I'm
early
89.
90s.
So I'm
Sugar
32,
daddy.
and Chris is 39, and so
38?
There's 6. Sorry, you'll be 39 this year.
But right now I'm 38, darling.
Okay, sorry.
I'm 39 in April, which is like... Tell the man he's older than he is. I'm 39 in April, which is a month and a half away.
Right.
Right now I'm 38.
So there is 6 years difference between us. And anyway, we sort of, I think Chris was online on Facebook, so I sort of sent him a message and said, hey, get to work, like get back to work, you slacker, or something like that. And then that's when he replied to me and said, I am working. No, you were actually painting your house.
Yes.
And that's when you sort of said, oh, why don't you come round and help me paint? And then that never happened. So then we sort of didn't speak again. And then, I don't know, it was like a month later, we started talking again. And then Chris was like, look, what the hell, let's just go on a date. And so that happened. And then he pulled up at my sister's house, because that's where I dropped Demi off to be babysat for the date. And this man in his full drive turned up to the house, and I'm like, oh my god,
Nissan.
My heart's racing.
To the Nissan lovers.
You know, it was a bit nerve-wracking for me. And then he obviously came around his car with his pearly whites, and he's like, hey, g'day, and I'm just like, holy moly.
Chivalry is still alive, lads.
Holy moly, this guy is so hot.
Oh.
And I, in my brain, was like, no, I've definitely not got a chance with this bloke. Like, we'll go on the date and I'll never hear from him again because I'm way out of his league. Like, I don't think I'm his type of woman.
Let's just keep it in check here. This was about 15 kilos lighter and 10 years younger.
Yeah. So...
But the pearly whites?
Anyway, he was something. And you still are, love. You still are. Was being the key word right then. You still are.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
So anyway, we went on this date, and he took me to Sushi Train, which was my first experience of sushi. Like, I thought sushi was gross, but then I thought, whatever, I'll just go try it, and I love it now. Like, I love sushi. So yeah, that was a cool experience. And then for me, my story is that when I was looking at him, there was no one else in the room. I was totally attracted to him. I wanted it to be something. So yeah, that's my story. And then he dropped me off home after that, and he just wasn't giving me anything. So I just thought, well, I don't think there is anything in this. And then I'm like, you know what? He's a gentleman. He's not going to kiss me. And so I thought, bugger it, I'm going to kiss him. So I planted a big one on him, and that's when I knew that the chemistry we did have during that date was definitely solid, and so I wanted to cement that with a kiss. And then I went home, and that was that, and I never heard from him that night. So anyway, I texted him saying thank you for the date. It was lovely. Hopefully, you know, we can go round 2. And then he messaged me the next day and said, look, I'd love to catch up with you again. So ever since then, and the second date when we catched up, he took me to, we did full driving, and I got to drive in his full drive for the first time. So I've never driven a full drive before.
Yep.
So I did a little bit of full driving, and then that night, so this was about, what, 2 weeks later or something? Then
yeah, 2 weeks.
That night, that's when Chris had met Demi, and they had their steak together and fell in love. So yeah, that's how Chris and I met. So what do you do?
Okay, so what do I do? You know what I do.
Yeah.
So we went on a date to World's End. I took Mel full driving with my brother at the time, my brother and his partner at the time, and we had like a foursome date thing. It was really cool. It was a great day. It was a Sunday. We went out to the World's End. We did some full driving. I chucked Mel in the driver's seat. She was like, oh my God, this is amazing. We had a beautiful lunch, and then we came home, and Demi's dad was dropping Demi off back to Mel, and she's like, how do you feel about meeting Demi? I was like, totally open to it. I'm a pretty free-going, easy-going spirit. I was like, let's meet. So anyway, we went out for dinner. I ordered a steak. Demi had a pasta bowl. Demi smashed her pasta bowl and was like, I want some of your steak. I was like, man, this kid's got me hooked. Like, any child that eats a steak, you know, super impressed. So so we had a steak. We had a good dinner. And then within 2 weeks after that, you lost your job. You were working at a bakery.
So
and she was living at Gawler East at the time in a little unit, and it was a nice place. It was, you know, but she was put in a really difficult situation. She was pretty much put in a corner of moving back in with her auntie, which her auntie, God bless her soul, has done so much for Mel, her family. The background history we're not going to go into, but
both
this
my
auntie
and uncle are like
saints,
our saviors,
saints,
like,
and they put the kids first, Mel and her siblings before themselves. And I kind of got to know them and meet them early on, and I was like, you know what, you know, it could make or break us, but let's just move in. Let's make it happen, and if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, well, we gave it a red hot crack. Anyway, you moved in within about 5 weeks, 6 weeks of us knowing each other?
So probably sooner than that. Can't really remember. It was sooner.
5 6 weeks. And there's a long
running joke.
There's a long running joke where I say, you lost your job, you rocked up on my doorstep with a child under one arm and a suitcase under the other.
You needed a place to stay.
You needed a place to stay.
You were begging for a place.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the case. Like, I was planning to move in with my auntie and uncle.
Yeah, but I could just tell her auntie and uncle, having known the background story of what they've done and what they'd been through, I was like, it's not fair on them to go through that. And
even though, like, Auntie Sharon and Uncle Mark would have taken me in a heartbeat. Like, they would do that hand over foot every day of the week. They would do that for me, and I love them so much, and I'm so grateful that I've got them in my life.
But I was living in this house, and it was a good house.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was a bachelor
he actually
pad.
had a roommate as well who was
there. Not a roommate.
Not a roommate, but like a housemate.
A boarder.
Yeah, a boarder who was there, who eventually moved out afterwards when I moved in. And then 6 months into mine and Chris's relationship, one of my sisters had moved in. So there's 7 of us, so I've got 2 brothers and 4 sisters. 2 of my sisters I still speak to, and one of my brothers I still speak to, but unfortunately I don't speak to any everyone else. So my two younger sisters actually moved in. One moved in first, and then the other one moved in 6 months later. And so then it was a really full house after that.
A lot of girls.
A lot of girls in the house.
A lot of estrogen.
A lot of
estrogen. Cycles.
A hormonal house, wasn't it?
Well, it was okay because two of you had the same cycle of menstruation, so you could kind of know at that time of the month you were in sync, but there was one that was out of sync. But
who wants to talk about menstrual?
Well, I do, because that was like, is it this week? Is it that week? Is it?
Well, you don't have to worry about
so
it
anyway,
anymore.
So we had Mel, Demi, we moved in together, the three of us.
And then 6 months later, one moved in, and then 6 months after that, another one moved in.
So there was Mel, Demi, and I. Then we got Charlie, who you met before. Then we got Max, and then
one of the girls moved in.
Two, eventually.
Yeah, so one moved in, and then the other one.
Yeah, so it went from...
yeah, it was a full house, and we were in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2 living.
1.5 living.
1.5 living.
It was tiny living.
So it was small. The house was really small. So then we actually found a rental. Funny enough, Chris actually sold the house to the owners who were looking for some tenants to move in. So Chris is like, well, hey, like there's us and our big family, like can we move in? So we moved in literally a stone's throw away, just into a bigger house. This one's a 4-bedroom, 2 living, 2-bath, triple garage, pretty good backyard, low maintenance. It's really cool. And then they started dropping off. My sister started moving out, so now we're in this big house.
A lot of space.
But not for much longer, because we're hitting the road. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So the kids moved on. They've got their own life. Cheryl's built a house with her partner Matt. Elva's about to rent her first house with her partner Jack. Good luck. That'll be the first test of a relationship, living together.
Yeah, but congratulations.
But absolutely,
honestly.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
We're
it'll
super
be
excited. But
yeah,
so we went to this massive house and it was full. Chockers almost. Girls fighting, this, that. To now it's like a big house that's got a lot of empty space, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So coming into the caravan, we're kind of like
it
excited.
might be an adjustment though, like knowing that we don't have other rooms to go to. This is quite small.
Yeah.
Compared to the big house that we're in, but looking forward to it. We'll make it work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
but going on, I think our backgrounds more so than anything. So where do you come from? What's your background? What do you do? I think a lot of people know that with your previous videos, but
well, no, people just know me for real estate, Chris.
Yeah.
He just sells property.
Yeah.
So digesting back before Mel and I met. So my mum and dad were married for a long period of time. They were trying for another child. I was the only child for about 10 years. Then my brother Justin came along, which I'd been waiting for a long time. I remember when he was born in the Lower Mac. I was super excited, like unbelievably. It was like the greatest gift I'd ever waited for. And a lot of people say to me, are you guys a bit distant because there's a 10-year gap? I think it's made us closer because I waited for so long for something special like a brother, that relationship. So my parents were married, my brother came along, there was a 10-year gap between us. My parents separated, and that was really tough because I was about 12, so I was on that verge of adolescence when you know, like you're not a kid anymore, you're almost becoming a teenager, you know what's what. So my parents gave me the opportunity to make a call. Do you want to go with your dad? Do you want to go with your mum? Now at the time I was closest to my mum, biologically, psychologically, mentally, physically. Like mum was the call every day of the week. But there was something about my dad that just kept me pulling to him. My dad, who will watch this, was a firm but fair fucking prick. But I loved it because I knew where I stood with him, because he created a space and an environment that was safe and secure. Like I knew what I'd get from him. My dad was pretty heartbroken, I think, absolutely, when my mum left him. No questions about it. I knew he was vulnerable, and everyone kind of in my family expected me to go to my mum, gravitate that way, because that was the easy option. Like that, you know, you're your mum's boy, you look like your mum, your relationships with your mum. But I did the complete opposite. I said, no, I'm going to go with my dad. And I never forget the look on my dad's face when I made that decision to go with him. And I know he doesn't, he still to this day, I'm sure, didn't expect that decision. The shock in his face was pretty surreal. So I went with my dad and we built this relationship, and it's kind of like a cleanse. It's like, look, start fresh, 10 years, I know I was a prick to you, really hard and firm, and
You moved up to Queensland?
I wanted to raise you to be, you know, a good guy, a good gentleman. No, even before that. So we got a house together here at Regency Park in South Australia, and I was kind of going between mum and dad's, bike riding. But I don't know what it was. It was like, if I went to mum's, I got everything I wanted. But when I went to dad's, I got told what I needed to know. But I always gravitated back to dad because there was safety and structure. And so anyway, I was living with dad, and then dad wanted to go to New South Wales because his sister, Auntie Trudy, a lot of our family were there. My Omi, my Upa were there, and he's like, look, I'm going to go up to New South Wales, my family's there, I'm going to give you the option, do you want to go with your mum or your dad? I said, mate, we're in this together. Like, I've been living with you for, I think it was about a year or so. I want to go with you. Like, it's good. So we went up there, moved to New South Wales. Dad met a lady who they were dating for about 6 months. It didn't really work out. And then he met another lady who's my stepmom to this day, who you know, Julie, who had 3 boys herself. So we moved into this house on the Central Coast. So there was 4 boys, 2 adults in a 3-bedroom house. And I had to share a room, which I've never done before. And anyway, I shared a room with my stepbrother, Reese, and this guy used to chew his teeth and grind his teeth like a cow gnawing grass. And one night, I literally, after about a week or 2 being in this house, living, you gotta remember, I was living with my dad, and it was 2 guys in a house by herself, to then all of a sudden there's 6 people in the house. And he was chewing his teeth like a cow gnawing on grass, and I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. So I literally picked up my stepbrother, who I'd known for about 2 weeks, moved him out into the couch, dropped him on the couch, left him there, went back to bed. The parents got up in the morning like, why is Reese out here? I said, I took him out of the room, couldn't sleep with him. It was ridiculous. It was at that point Dad went, well, we need a bigger house. So anyway, they got married, we moved into a bigger house. We lived at a place north of Oka, which you know, I took you back there.
North of Oka.
So it's like an hour and a half north of Sydney. It's a little place called Central Coast. It's probably the most fond memory and years I've ever had in my life. Like, I lived on the beach from year 5 to maybe year 11 of high school. I could walk 200 metres to the beach. I got up in the morning at 6 a.m. I'd surf to about the bus picking me up at about 8:15 a.m. I'd come home, drop me off. I'd surf from about 4 p.m. through to about 6:45 p.m. I'd get home, make sure I got home in time for dinner, and that's all I did. I lived, I surfed, I shat, I slept, and my mum or stepmum and my dad fed me. So we lived there for many years, 18 Elgatta Avenue, north of Oka. I'll always remember that address. Most fun years of my life. I met my best mate, Brock, who you know, who's...
Love you, Brock.
Who's our second husband, as Mel
Second
calls him.
husband, Chris's best mate and best man.
Yeah, so lived there. Then Dad moved up to Gold Coast. I kind of chased him a little bit. I kind of went back and forth. I went from East Coast with Dad back down to South Australia. There's always something in South Australia that pulled me back, that made me gravitate. There's like deeply enriched roots here. I don't know what it was. Obviously my mum and my brother were here. There's something that always pulled me back. As much as I love the East Coast, the beach, the sand, the surf, the freedom spirit, the whole lot, the vibe, far greater than SA ever probably provided. But there was something that pulled me back to Adelaide. So I kind of bunny hopped a bit, and then Dad went up to Gold Coast, and I moved up there with him. Yeah, I didn't really like the Gold Coast, to be honest. It was very fake, pretentious, bullshit, wankers.
I've never been to the Gold Coast, so I don't know.
Yeah, lived there for a couple of years. I actually enjoyed Brisbane more, so I moved up to Brisbane because that's where my job was. I actually had a better circle of influence in Brisbane. I enjoyed Brisbane a lot more than the Gold Coast. I just felt it was more authentic. But then after a few years living solo in Brisbane, I was like, what do I do? And a former friend of mine that had known for 34 years was like, mate, you're good with people. I'm in real estate, I'm doing really good. You should have a look at real estate. I was like, no, I don't know, I'm earning good money, corporate security, big job, you know, Monday to Friday. I get paid every fortnight. Why would I go to the unknown of real estate commission? So anyway, I flew down to Australia from Brisbane, had a meeting with a principal of an agency back then, and the meeting was like relaxed, casual, like just talk and get to know each other. Flew up a few days later back to Brisbane, had an email from that business owner with a formal offer, and I was like, oh shit, this is real. Do I go back home? Do I not go back home? Now back then I was on $70,000 a year as a corporate income guaranteed. So this is like, we're talking 15 years ago. So 70 grand back then is pretty good money. I had this traineeship agreement offered to me. I remember receiving it, I almost chuckled. It was like 28 grand traineeship wage, and I was like, ah, you know, that's like 70 grand to 28 grand. That's full on. And I was like, you know what, who cares? I'm just going with it. And I'm going back home. I'll be with my mum, my brother. I bunked up with a mate. I kept my costs really low, and I made it work. And that's why we met, and that's why when she says, when I took her out on a sushi date, it was literally because I was living off 28 grand a year. So by the time I paid my car loan, my mobile phone bill, my expenses, my board, I literally had about $200 at most a fortnight to live off. Like that didn't include food.
Was that when I met you?
Yeah. So when she says to me, why do you take me to sushi train when it costs $45 for a day? It was cost effective. But it was a vibe, it was a culture, it was a good experience. So
yeah, and that's all I care about. I don't care that, you know, you spent $30 on me. Like, I care about the fact that I had my first sushi experience with you, my husband. You know, so that's what, you know, I love the most about that. I don't care about how much you spend.
Yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Yeah.
Where I came from.
And obviously I was living with my mum and dad up until I was 14 years old. So before I was removed from the property and moved into my Auntie Sharon's house, I was going through a lot of, you know, child abuse and all sorts of abuse, you name it. That's all of the abuse that I went through up until the age of 14. And then Families SA got involved and they removed me and my sister from the property, but the rest of the children stayed. Mainly because they wanted to be there to protect my mum, because she was going through a lot of violence, domestic violence. My dad beat her up a lot. And so my older brother wanted to stay there to protect her, and obviously the rest of the children. Not sure why. Like, I think, you know, if you look back at the situation, I don't know why all of the children were taken and only some of us were. But anyway, I moved in with my Auntie Sharon and my Uncle Mark, and God bless them, because they are my saviours. If they weren't there to take me from that environment, God knows where I would be now. But I'm so truly grateful and thankful that they were there to pretty much give my sister and I a second chance in life. So yeah, my Auntie Sharon is pretty much like my mum. I don't have any sort of relationship with my biological mother, and I don't have any sort of relationship with my biological father. I haven't spoken to them since, well, my dad since I was 14, and my mum since my daughter Demi was 12 months old. So I've had no relationship with them. They don't add any value in a positive way in my life. So I just decided just to cut them off and not have anything to do with them. And I've been much happier since. Like, I don't actually have any sort of feeling towards that. A lot of people are like, why can't you give your mum and dad a second chance? Well, if you actually knew what I went through as a child, then you would totally understand why I have no relationship with them. And if anything, if I've taken anything away from my parents, it's how to be a better mother. Because everything that my mum and dad weren't, I am. And I've made a real point of that, you know, bringing Demi up, how important it is for us to, and for me to be the mother that I am today. So I've broken the cycle and I'm super proud of that. But I've always got my auntie and uncle to rely on. My auntie's like my mum, I just said that. I call her Mama Shaz. I love her. And my Uncle Mark, he's pretty much like my father figure. And, you know, yeah, like I'm just so grateful that they're in my life. And they've got 2 boys of their own. So bringing
Ryan and Sam,
bringing my sister and I into their home to share their environment, to share their home, for them to give up and sacrifice what they've given up and sacrificed for us is like, yeah, like I said, it's, you know, it takes a really special person to do that. And
family,
you know, like, yeah, I'd just don't know where I'd be now if it wasn't for them. But yeah, I've been to school and I finished my year 12. Like, I was probably the first one in my sort of sibling family to achieve that. And then I went on to work at R.M. Williams when I was 18, so I was only a little whippersnapper. Is that how you say it, whippersnapper?
yeah.
Whippersnapper. And I made R.M. Williams belts, so I did that for about 2 years. And then I went into reception work, where I worked for a finance company for medical professionals. And then my job went redundant, and then that's when I fell pregnant with Demi.
How old were you then?
I was 20 when I fell pregnant with Demi.
20.
Yep. And then at 21 I had her, so it was sort of the last part of my 20s when I fell pregnant, and the start of my 21 that I sort of gave birth to her. And then so what did I do after that? And then I sort of just picked up work every now and again. Like, my auntie, she used to own a cleaning business, so I used to go cleaning and do sort of small jobs with her. And then I sort of, after I split up with Demi's dad, about, I don't know, 9 months, 10 months later, I'd met Chris, and then moved in with you. And I sort of wasn't, because I worked at a bakery as well just before I met Chris, but that job went into liquidation, so I was laid off. Excuse me. And then I wasn't working. I was not working.
You were lost.
I was lost and I didn't know what to do. I sort of had like a small passion for a while that I really wanted to be a midwife. And that sort of got brought on because I had Demi, and I was like, oh my god, like what a beautiful experience to be a nurse and be able to deliver babies, and that sort of stuck with me. And then Chris said, Nell, like, you can't sit around and, you know, not work, like, we need to bring in another income. So then I sort of got my ass into gear and I started looking for work, and then I fell into this opportunity of studying to be a nurse. And yeah, I've been a nurse.
I wouldn't say you fell into it. You, like, Mel's amazingly caring for people more so than herself. So she's like, I really care for people. And I was like, okay, well, how do you find that profession? And she started in aged care a little bit. And she started in aged care, and as much as she loved the role holistically, it was like she didn't feel like she was furthering herself. So then I said, well, why don't you just try and maybe study a little bit more in that space where you can care for people outside of aged care, and that's where the nursing came about.
Yeah, so I was doing aged care at like was it the beginning of my nursing studies or right at the end? I think it was right at the end. No, it was right at the end of my nursing studies.
Anyway.
Because I knew that when I finished my nursing, I'd be able to have a nursing job after that. So I didn't last in aged care. But that's when I sort of built this like love for wanting to care for people. And yeah, I'm so passionate about making a difference in someone's life and making sure that I've made an impact in a positive way and making sure that I can be there holistically in every aspect of their life as well. So yeah, that's why I became a nurse, and I've been a nurse now for 6 years, and only literally like last week I've gone on leave without pay for 12 months, and I just feel so liberated that, especially in like these times right now with everything that's happened with COVID, nurses don't get enough recognition for what they do. I mean, this may sound stupid, but it baffles me that, you know, singers and artists and like movie stars and all that sort of get paid a hell of a lot more than what a nurse would, a firefighter would, a police officer would, a teacher would, you know, like there's so many more professions out there that are so much more important than entertainment, I suppose. But that's my opinion. I always have opinions, don't I?
Well, the moral of the story is she's book-wise and smart and intelligent. I'm the street hustler. So I'm shit at school, I'm shit at book stuff, but I can hustle. Like I can make a deal work and a deal happen, but I get inspired by her because she's more knowledgeable than me. Like your theoretical, your theory is theoretical.
Well, I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm more of a practical learner. Like I learn better when I'm practically doing something rather than reading something. Like I try my hardest to read. I think reading is important because it keeps your brain active. But Chris, you do a lot of reading.
No,
on the internet.
audiobooks. I just listen.
Yeah.
I listen to people. I absorb. But you know, it's funny. Like the moral of this story is like we're so different, but we're so alike in a similar way, because you've come from very hard upbringings that, you know, her story, which is only giving you maybe 10% of the background, which I know more so. So I've been blessed. Like I've had a very fortunate upbringing. You know, I was the only child for 10 years. Like I had LA Gear lights, I had Reebok pumps, I had it all. But yet we still lived around the corner from each other, didn't we? For how many years that we...
Yeah, it's funny that we were like always in the same area through our upbringing in life. It's just unreal that, you know, it's like we were supposed to cross paths, but we were always close, but we hadn't crossed paths, and then we crossed paths.
Yeah, it's like the story of Max, right? Max had the fucking most terrible, drug-ridden, flea-ridden, rotten upbringing. Charlie, who was like treated like a queen princess from day one, but yet they gravitated to each other and they both love each other unconditionally, irrespective of their background. It's the same as you and I. Like, I'm blessed. I had a very fortunate upbringing where my parents showered me with pretty much everything that I wanted. You had the complete opposite, right?
I didn't.
Like
I remember.
how many days did you go without eating?
Yeah, it's...
You know, and you just think of that.
We had some pretty tough times as children, you know. Like, I remember some years when it was Christmas, and I remember, you know, waking up that next morning going, oh my God, what Santa brought me, and I'd wake up and there'd be nothing under the tree. Like, that's
fucked.
Yeah, I never had a doll, and if I did, it was my grandmother, which is my dad's mum. She would buy the doll, put it under the tree some years, but then she would like let us open it, and then she would take it back to her house and display them in her house. So her house was just full of dolls everywhere. It's like the Christmas was for her, not for us. So yeah, I remember like doing horrible things as a kid. Like there'd be kids at my school that I was at, and they'd have this toy, and I'd be like, I've got to have that, and the only way I could have it was to steal it. Like, I actually stole something from another child. Yeah, it's definitely not proud moments, but I suppose when I've never had anything, it was just something that I really wanted.
Your back's against the wall.
Yeah, so yeah, but that's a bit about the both of us and who
Total
we are
different
and where we're from
upbringings.
and what our backgrounds are, and we just wanted to share that with you. Sorry it's long, but yeah, we just wanted to get real and raw and, you know.
So, if we could part ways in any words to those that have influenced us, I'll start. To my dad, I'm going to part ways with some words here that I'm going to try and keep it together here, but to my dad, my Foss, who has raised me by a firm but fair hand from a young whippersnapper, as you said. We've never always agreed, but one thing I've always understood is I know where I stand with you. And one thing I know about my dad is that he's taught me how to use my head as much as my hands. And for that, I will install into our children that it's not always about being on your phone and on an app, but it's more so about using your head and your hands. And I think that's a legacy that if any father can install and pass that on to their kids, that is the greatest legacy over this, app that, calling this, whatever. So to my dad, who we've spoken about a little bit on this video, and you know, Dad, we've had an interesting upbringing, and you've shed the greatest moments of my life and some of the most traumatic of my life. I part ways in this message saying thank you for influencing me to be the man that I am today, not only with my head, my heart, but also my hands, because without you, I would not know what I know today from what you installed and taught me.
It's true, because when he sort of gets stuck on something that he needs to fix,
Call your dad.
Just call your dad.
Call
he
your dad.
knows. Like, he's always got a solution. Call your dad. He knows.
But
and then Chris is like, I don't need to call my dad all the time. So yeah, like that's.
You understand?
Yeah,
you understand?
Yeah.
And there's the sad reality is Dad, is not going to be there forever. But I have complete faith and confidence that when Dad passes on and goes to the next life, that he's installed something in me that I can use my hands. I can build stuff. I can construct. I can, not to his standard, although as he gets older it's a little bit softer and weaker than mine, but what I know to this day is what he's installed in me, so super grateful for that. To my mum, who we've spoken about, she's taught me to be soft and emotional and in tune with my sensitive side.
And there's nothing wrong with a sensitive new age guy, eh?
We're born in the 80s, baby. It's like hard and firm and just be strong. But we've spoken about my mum, and she's taught me a lot about that, how to be soft and gentle. She is the sensitive side of me, which I don't show enough of, but I'm sure you see a reflection of that from time to time. To my brother, whom I waited 10 years for, there's always a soft spot for that.
Justin's always got you in stitches, like laughing. Justin just has to make a silly face, and then you're like, you're belly laughing. That's how much he makes you laugh. It's really funny.
Well, I'm welting up right now just thinking about the guy, and we've got this love-hate relationship. Like, it's just stupid. We push each other, we put each other down, we fucking smack each other, we build each other, but there's always this underlying sense of loyalty and respect and love. We don't show enough. We do, but in a weird way. But these three people are pillars in my life. And I'm not talking about my wife and Demi, because I'll lose the shit right now, but I'm just talking about three pillars that have installed great values in me that have led me to Mel and Demi to be the person I am today. I'm forever grateful for that. So enough about that. You?
For me, it's definitely my auntie and uncle. Like, I will always, forever, 100% wholeheartedly, if I could thank them in a way where I would be forever thankful, if there was a way of doing that, I would 100% do that every day. Like, I wake up every day and Auntie Sharon and Uncle Mark are two of the people that I think about every day. We don't talk every day, we probably should, but when we do speak, we're always on the phone for hours and hours, talking about whatever, anything and everything. But if it weren't for them, I would not be here today. I honestly
100%.
don't know where I would be. I don't even want to think about that, because I don't think I would be in very good places if it weren't for my Auntie Sharon and Uncle Mark. Yeah, I think those two people were the most influential people in my life, and I don't know, I get so speechless talking about them, because there's no words, I can't physically show them, there's no words, there's not enough of that to give them. Like, I don't know how to do it, and I know that they know I'm super grateful, and I know that they know how much I love them, but yeah, if I could show it in a way where, like, every day I would be showering that much gratitude on them,
Well, you
I
are
would do
showing
that.
it.
So
You've been a good wife, a good
yeah,
mum.
Auntie Sharon's definitely taught me a lot about how to be a woman. Yeah, she's
That's two. Who's the third?
Demi. Demi's my best friend. She and I've said this in a post before, where it's really funny, because Chris and I, we should have said this before and we didn't. We're going through IVF. We were going through IVF, and we've decided now to take 12 months apart, away from IVF. We don't really want to focus on that anymore, because we just haven't had some very good outcomes. But going on to Demi, I absolutely think that she was a miracle for me, and really significant numbers that, because I'm a numbers girl, that are very important to us. So she was born on the 8th of May, and 8 is a very significant number, because everywhere we sit, if it's like a dinner table, if we go out for dinner and there's a number on the table, we don't actually look for it, we just sit down and then we notice the number, and it's 8. You know, Demi could be in a go-kart or a little bumper car or something, and all of a sudden she's sitting in the number 8. Like, it's just a significant number for us. And I truly believe that she has been given to me as my guiding angel in life, because at times I can be really lost, and she just brings me back to reality again and puts me back on that path, and then I'm getting on with life again, you know. So Demi's definitely given me a reason to keep going in life. Not that I've ever hit rock bottom, but you know.
So on that, what's our trials and tribulations?
I don't know, you go first.
Well, what's the hardest part about our life right now?
So the hardest
Because it's
thing,
not all glamorous. It's not all glamorous caravanning and hitting the road and travelling Australia. Our biggest hurdle is what?
IVF.
And having a child.
Yeah, trying to have a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So it's not all peaches and roses,
definitely the
is it?
toughest thing that we've been through.
Yeah.
I mean, finding out that we had to go through IVF was the hardest thing I've ever been through. And when I say I haven't hit rock bottom, I actually have. Like, IVF isn't the easiest thing to go through, and I'm sure that if there are people out there that are going through IVF, I totally feel you, and I know that you feel me, because the people who haven't gone through IVF don't understand. It's the most toughest thing for a woman to go through, and obviously for Chris it's been tough as well, because he's always wanted to be a dad, and I struggle with that because I at the moment can't give him that, and yeah, it's been tough.
So this is getting really raw now. So Mel and I had been trying for a kid for what, 3 years? thereabouts, 3 years.
Yeah, but about 2 years. Yeah.
Without IVF.
No,
So-
so we've been trying naturally for 2 years.
And then IVF.
Nothing happened, and we were like, well, maybe we should get a second opinion. And so we went to Repromed in Dulwich, which are amazing. We've had the most amazing experience with them. The nurses and Professor Tremelin, he's amazing. We've never really had any issues whatsoever.
No, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal, but
The
you know,
service we've gotten has been next to nothing. Like
well,
it's been
I'm
pretty
older
good.
than Mel. Like I'm 38, going on 39.
Yeah.
She's younger, and we've been trying, like, you know, not really trying, but we're kind of like,
If it happens,
do it
it
on this
happens.
time, do it on that time. This is when I'm ovulating. This is when I'm not.
So we
this
were
is when...
trying then.
So we were trying, all right. So anyway, we tried for a while. And we're like, oh God, why is it not happening? Something's not right. So we're like, let's get tested. And for the life of me, I thought, you know, it's my age. Something's against me. I thought, you know, it's definitely me. Something's not right. And then we did some testing, and I was like, average, pretty average.
Yeah, so nothing was really wrong with
My
Chris.
sperm count was good.
Yeah.
And then Mel found out about a condition that, no fault to herself, was just from when she had Demi to now, it made it,
It had
harder.
gotten worse.
It had gotten
the
worse.
condition I assume I had before I had Demi, but every time you have a child it gets worse and worse and worse. So well, essentially I've got an inflamed uterus, and like people have endometriosis, but I've got something a little more severe than that. And so the embryo, when it tries to attach, it looks at it sort of looks at its environment and is like, no, this is no place for me to migrate. So then I end up miscarrying. And
So the miscarriage rate's really high.
yeah. So
'Cause there's a few times there that we thought we were pregnant, yeah?
yeah.
And she had miscarriages, and I'm like, oh no, I don't think so. You would have known if you were pregnant. But now that we look back, we were definitely pregnant, but it just passed through.
Yeah. So anyway, we went through the IVF process. We ended up getting 21 eggs from our cycle, and then so ovulation and
Machine.
you know,
21 eggs.
creating eggs wasn't an issue for me. So I ended up having 21 removed, and then 18 were fertilized, and then 15 were frozen.
Yeah.
So we've actually gone through 3 cycles. The first cycle we
So we had 15 embryos frozen.
Yeah.
And then from there we went through 3 cycles where it was implanted.
Chris, I'm saying that.
Yeah,
I was
sorry.
explaining that.
I'm just
so
explaining for the simple guy out there that's watching, because
They
they don't understand embryo, cycle,
Anyway,
planting.
so we had 3 cycles. The first one we actually fell pregnant.
Yeah.
And then 6 weeks I miscarried, and then the next 2 cycles nothing happened. Like they failed. So we decided that was it. Like we couldn't go. I mentally and physically couldn't go through it anymore, and I need this time to heal and do a bit of work on myself and heal from the process of IVF, because it isn't, as much as you want to see it be a positive sort of process and experience, I can't see it be a process of like positivity, because we've had more lows than what we have highs, so it's hard to sort of see it like that. But we are super grateful that, you know, we get the opportunity to go through IVF, because I know there are a lot of women out there who really want children and IVF isn't even an option for them. So we are so grateful that, you know, we get to have that opportunity, but right now it's just not our time. We want to be able to enjoy life while we can. You know, it'd be nice to have a couple children to enjoy life with on the road and all that sort of thing, but I know that there are parents out there who are saying if you don't have children, you'll enjoy it better. So I'm going to take advantage of that, and yeah, like just really enjoy life for what it is at the moment, and we'll revisit the IVF route later. So yeah, but anyway, I think this video has gone for too long now, so we should probably call it quits and get to bed, because it's 10 o'clock here in Adelaide at night. So we should
Way
probably
past my bedtime.
we should probably call it a day, hey?
So anyone who might be watching this, if you're a bloke going through IVF and you think you're optimistic and it's going to be okay, reach out, talk to us, drop comments below. Would love to hear from you guys. Whether you're a bloke or maybe a wife or a de facto spouse. De facto, is that single? No, de facto is couple.
In a relationship.
If you're in a de facto relationship, maybe you're going through a similar experience or journey, just drop comments below. We'll definitely get back to you. We'd love to hear from you guys and girls and your story. That's a skim off the surface of our story. There's a lot more to it. Maybe we'll do an episode on the IVF, from the first take to the third take, and what you went through as a wife and a bearing mother. To me, what I felt as an optimistic father, a hopeful father. Maybe we can just share that, because maybe we just need to talk about it more together as a community,
because
and
it
share
can be
that.
a very isolating type of subject to talk about, but go through as well, because like as a woman, IVF becomes my identity, and then so I sort of lose myself in the process. So it can be very isolating.
You lose your relationship too, though, because there's that feeling of letdown and disappointment, and So anyway, we covered off a lot. We covered off a lot. So anyway, we hope
if you've made it to the end, thank you so much. We are so grateful that you have been able to make it to the end, but we just wanted to sort of just let everyone know about us and our authentic selves, and
it ain't picture perfect,
what our backgrounds are and where we're from, so then whoever out there watching us can relate in some sort of way. So then if we do bump into each other on the road, if you're out
Tell
on
us
the road,
your story.
like, we're happy to catch up and talk about everything. So
share the story, share the love.
So thanks for having us tonight. Take care, sleep well, and
until the next episode,
live free.
Live free. See you, legends.
See ya.
You.